Hey y'all, welcome to Frugal Faithful Home. My name is Janessa and I hope you enjoy today's video. Today we are going to be making strawberry jam and marinara sauce. First we're going to start with fresh strawberries, and I'm going to use a slicer here to mash these up. We're going to need about 2 cups for the one serving, but I'm going to double this recipe. So I need 4 cups of strawberries. So we've got those mashed up, and I'm going to slide that over and pull out my pan, and we're going to start measuring these strawberries out. So we got 1 cup here. There's that 2nd cup. And I need a little bit more strawberries to get that 4 cups. That's the 3rd cup there. And my last bit that I've got mashed up here is going to be equal that 4th cup. So next we're going to add our sweeteners. I do 1 cup of sugar, and remember this is a doubled recipe, so a regular recipe would be a 1/2 cup, and then I do a whole cup of honey. Now the original recipe calls for 1 cup of sugar per 2 cups of strawberries, and if you don't need a double recipe, then that's what you would do, or you could do 1/2 cup of honey and 1/2 cup of sugar. Once again, I'm doubling this recipe, so I have 4 cups of strawberries, 1 cup of sugar, 1 cup of honey. After we add that honey, we're going to add our lemon juice. If you weren't doubling this, you would do 1 tablespoon, but since I'm doubling this, I'm going to be doing 2 tablespoons. So that is all that this recipe calls for: strawberries, your sweetener, and lemon juice. And this recipe, I have never canned it. I'm sure it can be adjusted to be canned, but I usually just keep it in the fridge. And when I add it to a jar, most of the time I'll get a seal on that jar, and it will last longer in the fridge. And that's just caused from the heat pulling that seal down, but that does not mean that it is shelf stable. So we are going to get the tomatoes going. I have froze these tomatoes, and they have been de-thawing in my fridge for probably about a week. But when you freeze them and then de-thaw them, it allows for that skin to separate, and you can see they just kind of slip right out of the skin. So this makes for a smoother marinara sauce when you don't have the skins. The skins, you can add them, but they don't break down very easily. So I like to remove mine. So we're just going to squeeze off the rest of the water that come out of those tomatoes. And this started out as 10 pounds of tomatoes, but tomatoes are full of water, so they condense down a lot. So we're going to give that, this has been sitting on the stove and simmering, and this has been going for about 45 minutes. This bubbled up a lot and had a lot of foam, so we waited till that was, most of that foam was gone before we were ready to jar up the jam. So like I said, this took about 45 minutes for it to cook. If you have a candy thermometer, then I believe the temperature is 220. I can link the original recipe down below, but I usually have a decent result as long as I make sure that foam is most of it's gone and it's appearing to be thickened up. So I'm just going to add that last little bit to a little jar. But this doubled recipe made 2 full jars and a little bit extra. And I like to add this jam to yogurt and other things like ice cream as a topping, and it's absolutely delicious. This doubled recipe lasts us a good while, but we do go through it at a decent rate. So our tomatoes have drained and most of the water's out. So we're going to add this to a pot on the stove. And I had a really large onion, so I only added half of this, but you only need like half of a large onion or a small onion. And I also added minced garlic, and the fresh herbs you see there are basil and oregano that I have grown actually in my windowsill. And I'm going to add salt and pepper, and I also added a little bit of extra garlic powder and dried parsley just to give it some extra flavor. And I'm going to cook this for a while, probably 30 minutes maybe, until it's gotten thickened up. And then I use an immersion blender to get it to a smooth sauce. And I have saved these spaghetti jars to reuse them. And that 10 pounds of tomatoes made roughly 2 jars of sauce. And so this would be considered a small batch. And I don't do this all the time, but just every once in a while, it's nice to have fresh marinara sauce. There's just nothing like it. Thank y'all for being here. I hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you want to see more of my content, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.